I believe every parentified eldest daughter should move away. I think that's the most healing thing that you can do and move away from your family. I'm going to share 7 reasons why I think you should move away at least once. If you're anything like me, I am the eldest daughter of the eldest daughter. I have 3 brothers. Um, you really had a complicated childhood. You may have grown up in a dysfunctional family. You cooked, you cleaned, you changed diapers. You were responsible for your siblings. You were made to be the third parent without any true authority, right? When your siblings got in trouble, you got in trouble. You may have been blamed for the behavior of your siblings, and now you may not even have a close relationship with your siblings. I remember seeing on TikTok a young girl being asked to stay home. She had a full ride scholarship, but she was asked to stay home so she could help her parents with her siblings. You may have felt that life wasn't fair. Your siblings had freedoms that you didn't have. There was different expectations of you. You were given adult responsibility even though you were just a child. You know what I'm saying? Like, your frontal lobe wasn't fully developed, but you were responsible for making adult decisions. And for some of you, that brought on a lot of anxiety, maybe depression. You feel like you were robbed because you had to sacrifice your childhood for other children. You are the one that had to pay for the mistakes of your parents, right? Whether they struggle with addiction, or your mom may have been from one romantic relationship and another. And don't let there be you have experienced your own trauma, right? So your mom goes from one relationship to another, and she brings men in and out the home, or your father is inconsistent with his care of you, and so he comes and gets you to spend time with you, but then he leaves you at his mother's house, right? You were abandoned, you were neglected, but then you were made responsible for the needs, wants, and desires of other children. And so I want to talk about that, because I believe that moving away is the most healing thing that you can do as it relates to being the parentified daughter. And this is very conflicting for some women, because you were given a role and you may feel like there's an obligation to your family. If I am not here, who is going to take care of them? But let me go ahead and tell you this. They are probably adults and they are responsible for themselves. Take the pressure off of yourself to take care of adult people. And some of you, it's like, well, it's not the adults, it's my nieces and my nephews. Well, unfortunately, baby doll, you have to save yourself. When you go on the airplane, what do they say? They say, put the oxygen on yourself first before you take care of anyone else. And this message is about you putting on the oxygen on you. You can no longer take care of other people. You have been responsible for so long. And what happens to the eldest daughter who is parentified, what I see is that she is exhausted. She is burned out from life. She is striving, right, to be successful, not only so that she could take care of herself, but now take care of her family that are adult people. If you're new here, welcome to Heal with the New Sex, where we discuss all things healing, self-love, and relationships. My name is Cynthia. I am a licensed therapist and coach, and I am the parentified eldest daughter. So everything I'm going to talk about with you today, these are things that I have done myself. But I want you to stay all the way to the end, because I have a caution as it relates to moving away, because this is a mistake I see many women who have been parentified and move away do. So the first one is that you finally get to develop your own identity, right? I got my notes here. When you are the parentified daughter, or you are the parentified eldest daughter, and I'm putting parentified there because I believe that's very different than just birth order. There are some girls who are raised, they are able to experience a childhood, and there are those of us whose childhood was robbed from us for whatever reason it was. It may have been that you were placed in foster care, so now you feel that you were responsible for your siblings, or you had to move in with your grandmother, and so you had a responsibility there. Whatever it is, I'm talking to the parentified daughters. So one, you were given a childhood, but now, you were given an identity, but now you can create it. You can identify who you are. See, this is what you should have been given in your childhood. You should have been given the ability to explore who you are, what makes you happy, right? What it is that you like, what it is that you dislike. You should have had a childhood where you were not responsible for anyone else. Many of us have been caretakers since we could remember. And then we get in relationships with people, whether it's friends, whether it's romantic, and we take on that role. Some of the codependency that you may have was established in your childhood. So it's so important that you get the the opportunity to develop your identity. How do you want your house to look? Like decorating your house. What clothes do you like to wear? How do you want to express yourself as it relates to your hair? Your identity, not just the roles that you play, but who are you? Many of us don't know ourselves outside of the role that we play. And so if someone was to ask us who we are, we would give them all these roles. I'm a daughter, I'm a mother, I am a CEO, or I'm a nurse, or I'm this. Those are all titles, but you get the opportunity to really explore who you are. How do you want your weekends, right? Instead of it being, I got to do this with my family, I got to do this with my family, I got to do this, my sister is calling me, my brother is calling me, my mom needs this. No, when you move away, you are no longer burdened by the crises of everyone else. You get to have a peaceful Saturday where you're going to go and get matcha and go for a walk at the park. Now, maybe growing up, you had a brother who had allergies, who was deathly allergic to a dog. And while you loved animals, you weren't able to get an animal. So now with your own home, you can. And guess what? You're also not responsible for taking care of that sickly sibling, right? The other thing is, your nervous system finally has room to heal. Now, this is a big one. Most parentified daughters don't realize how you are living in survival mode. You may have grown up in a home again with dysfunction or chaos. You may have been in and out of foster care, or it was just there was like I grew up in a home with domestic violence, so it wasn't stable as it relates to. There's this cycle that happens with domestic violence, if you know anything about that, right? So you always had to anticipate the next problem. Who's upset? Who's struggling? If there's not money, will the power be cut off? I think it was Sarah Jessica Parker who talked about, like, in the wintertime, their home being very cold. So you experience those things, you live through those things. Some of you may have, got it out of the mud. I had a client who said that she's like, I'm getting it out of the mud, but I'm getting my life together. You experience those things and your nervous system was on survival. And now that you moved away, you can get into therapy. And I would encourage you, especially if you've experienced trauma, that you do a trauma focused therapy like EMDR or prolonged exposure therapy, written exposure therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy that is trauma focused, because you get the opportunity to regulate your nervous system in a space, in a place in which you are safe. Many of us as parentified daughters did not experience emotional safety. We also didn't experience care. That's why I talk to you so much about relationships. And I tell you that if you have to use the same tools and skills in your romantic relationships that got you out of from your childhood, that had you surviving, then that relationship isn't healthy for you, right? The eldest daughter cannot date, the parentified eldest daughter cannot date the same way that someone may have secure attachment or a healthy household, okay? You grew up having to be Mrs. Fix-It. You were the Olivia Pope of your family. But when you are able to move away, you can really focus on the anxiety, the depression. You can focus on the neglect. You should really, I hope, be finding a therapist that you can work with so that you can talk about even the injustices, the things that weren't fair, you felt that weren't fair. The sacrifices that you had to make for the family. You may have had the opportunity you may have run track at high school and had the opportunity to go to state, but because your sibling, right? And we also can talk about favoritism as it relates to being a parentified daughter, but then there's another sibling that's favored. So you have the responsibility to take care of that sibling, but that sibling gets everything that they want. They want a new pair of Jordans, they get it. They want My Little Pony, they get it. Meanwhile, when there's something that's really important, you don't get it. You graduated top of your class and your parents didn't celebrate you. Your sibling passes one part of the GED and they're throwing them a house party. Or yet your sibling comes home from prison and they're celebrating them. You see what I'm saying? So you get these are the type of things that you have to process within therapy. These are the type of things that you need someone to tell you, no, your parents was wrong. Yes, the home you came from was dysfunctional. Yes, that wasn't fair. Because sometimes as the eldest daughter, you were told things like life wasn't fair. Your needs, your wants, your desires as a child was minimized. But you saw your parents go over and beyond for your siblings. And maybe you didn't have that. Maybe they didn't have it to give it to anyone, but you were the one being made responsible. And so you have to do the work to heal the inner child, the little girl in you, the little girl in you that was abandoned, the little girl in you that was looked over, the little girl that was mistreated, the little girl that was scolded. How many of you were woken up in the middle of the night because there were dishes in the sink? Right? And so you had to get up out of your sleep to wash dishes. Meanwhile, you had to go to school the next day. How many of you as girls weren't able to eat as much as your brothers were? It was, oh, he's a growing boy. So your brothers were able to eat everyone out of house and home, but you weren't. You may have even been ridiculed for your weight. Growing up in that toxic environment, because it truly was, you need to be into therapy. You need somebody, and let me say this as well, because sometimes the girlies are like, I went to therapy, you know, it wasn't, me and the therapist didn't click. If you, the initial therapist don't click, find you another therapist. One thing about therapy, and I'm very honest, even with my clients that come to me for therapy, I let them know, listen, sugar, you and I may not click, and that's okay. I want you to go to the place where you feel safe, you feel heard, you feel seen. Therapists have their own flair. We're different. We have our own personalities. We have our own view on things, okay? And this is the thing. You need a safe place to grieve your childhood. You need a safe place to be able to grieve it, because you did not get the things that you needed, right? Sorry, y'all. Sorry. You didn't get the things that you needed in your childhood. Right? We could talk about emotional regulation. We could talk about your nervous system, but also there's a time where you may grieve the things that you didn't receive as a child. See, sometimes your adult self makes mistakes, makes decisions that if you really had the parenting, because this is another thing. Many of us grew up, but we weren't raised. There's a difference when a parent is intentional about raising their child versus a child that just grows up. See, you were expected to figure it out. You were expected to know things, and you were a child. You were a child. So you have to grieve the little girl that got scolded, that got beat, that got punished because she didn't know it. She was a child. And the adults around her, because she was smart, or they made her to be the responsible one, handled her harshly. So therapy is the safe place to do that. Also, you can also schedule a coaching call with me, and I'll work with you through that. Okay. Third thing, as it relates to moving away, you stop living a life built around everyone else's expectations. You get to live your life on your rules. Not what this family member would think about me, not what my parents will think about me. I saw a young lady, I think her name is Haley Gamba, do a video. I didn't watch it yet, but she did a video recently about decentering your mom. And there's been a whole lot of conversation about decentering men. There's also been conversations about decentering your mom. But as the eldest daughter, you have to learn how to decenter your family and their expectations of you. Some of you may be in careers or living a certain way because your family said this is what you should do. Many of us were given a blueprint on how we should live our life, but the one thing that was missing was us having the emotional space and capacity to grieve our childhood. So you go from 0 to 18, not being able to be a person. You were just there for your physical and emotional labor. You weren't loved the way that your siblings were loved. You weren't taken care of the way your siblings were taken care of. You weren't nurtured the way your siblings were nurtured. And so you're just supposed to go out into the world and be this great person. Some of you are burdened down by the things that happened to you in your childhood. And there's not enough conversation about that, about how you then become 30 years old and you've wrecked your 20s, right? Let's be for real. You've been in unhealthy relationships in your 20s. You made these silly, now I don't want to say silly because I don't want a judgment, but these are mistakes. I made some silly mistakes in my 20s that if I had been raised, there had been some intention, then I wouldn't have had those deficits. And I'm going to tell you this, even at the age of 38, there's still some aha moments. So when you move away, you get to live on your terms. You don't have to live based off of anyone's expectations. You don't have to feel guilty about spending money on yourself, guilty about sleeping in, guilty about your place not being as cleanly as they had made you to clean, right? You may have been raised that you had to clean up after others. And when you're home, or when the room wasn't clean, the bathroom wasn't clean, now it fell on you. Well, I told you to tell them. But guess what? What happens when your siblings know, I don't have to listen to her. I don't have to listen to her. She's going to be the one that gets in trouble. And then you get in trouble. You can't do nothing to your siblings. You were raised feeling guilty, right? To say no. You didn't have the opportunity to say no. You had to cook dinner for your family. So now when you live on your own, guess what? You're like, listen, I can have a girl dinner. I'm going to make me a charcuterie board. You get to live on your terms. Nobody is expecting anything of you. I used to hate this. My mom used to call me every day and be like, what's for dinner? And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to cook this. I used to have to cook dinner for my family, y'all. Oh, I'm going to cook this. No, I don't want that. Cook this. And I would be like, why she even call me to ask me what she wanted for dinner? If she should have just said, Smithy, cook this. And it was so triggering to me that even now I'll be like, my son be like, Mom, don't ask me what's for dinner. Whatever I cooked was going to be. Right? I hate that. I used to hate that. Right? So you get to live on your own terms, not based off of the expectations of others. You finally get to, this is my next point, you finally get to function, right? No, the family system, let me make sure I read this right. When you move away, it allows them to feel your absence. You were filling the gaps as it relates to your family. Your sister was irresponsible with her money. You gave money. Your sister was working late or didn't plan accordingly as it relates to childcare. You're the one, right? You're the one that your family calls. But the other thing for some of the eldest daughters, you're also the black sheep, or you're also scapegoated. So it's not just that your family has required and demanded emotional labor and physical labor from you. You're also scapegoated. They also don't like you. You're the one who may have, let's say you were placed with another family. Your mother may have had addiction issues, so you're placed with another family. You were essentially Cinderella, but they didn't like you, so they mistreated you. They favored their children over you because of what your mother did or your father did, right? And there's a whole lot of dysfunction. But when you move away from the family, there are people on the outside that are able to see the dysfunction clearly. But let me say this to you. Just because you move away doesn't mean that when you return that they're still not going to treat you as a scapegoat. Doesn't mean that they're going to be grateful for you. Doesn't mean that there's like, oh, the heavens open up. See, many of you want acceptance from your family. They're not going to give it to you. And you have to be okay with that. Your family is not going to give you the acceptance that you want. When you're in a family, especially where it has roles, where there's a black sheep, scapegoat, where there is the favorite child, listen, you can't change your role. The best thing that you do is move away and heal so that you can see them for who they are and how they're functioning. Many of us as children, we saw it as if there was something that we did wrong. There was something wrong with us. And so we tried to be the best child. We tried to be people pleasers so that they could respect us, so that they could love us, so they could care for us, so they could nurture us. But we have to understand that these were adults making adult decisions, how they interacted with us and how they treated us. There was no sugar. You were deserving of love. They should have loved you just because. That was their role and responsibility. All right. So now people can see the truth. They can see, listen, it was never Sally's issue. It was their family's issue. Sally was a good child. They mistreated her. They took advantage of her. Okay. Number 5, you finally get to experience relationships where you're cared for. And this is the thing, as the eldest daughter, many of us have been in relationships in which they were enmeshed or there was codependence, but you really need to go and find friends. And let me tell you this, it's like a treasure hunt, because finding not a valuable friend, let me see this, finding a true friend is hard to come by. I remember Oprah talking to Michelle Obama. Michelle was like, yeah, I have 11 friends. Oprah's like, I just got Gail. You got 11 friends? Because friends, true friends that love you, that care for you, that adore you, it's hard to come by. I remember my most recent friend that I would say, I got her when I got breast cancer. I don't know if she would like me to tell the story, but yeah, Tia became a close friend of mine when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. She said, I'm going to walk this journey with you. But as the eldest daughter, when you get to move away, it's very important that you find people that care for you, that are willing to celebrate you, that are going to love you, not because of what you do, but just because of who you are. I think it's so, it's a treasure. It's a treasure when you find somebody who loves you and cares for you just because of who you are, not because you've done something for them. And as the eldest daughter, when you move away, you can form relationships based off of care and someone caring for you, celebrating you, right? Friendships where people check on you, partners who support you emotionally, communities where your worth isn't based on how much you give. Because you were taught that your worth was based off of what you give. But when you move away, you can join communities. You can create your own community. You can create your own tribe. You create your own family where people just love you for who you are. Not for what you do, not for what you give. Not because you're giving money, not because you are cooking for them, cleaning for them, not because, you are bailing them out. No, they love you for who you are. They take care of you for who you are. They see you for who you are. They see all the goodness in you. They see that you're loving, that you're kind, that you have a great personality, a great sense of humor. And let me tell you this, they also see that you have a giving heart, that you're very nurturing. But they don't take advantage of it because they have their own boundaries. See, when you grow up as a parentified daughter, your family will just take from you. They don't consider you your mental health. They don't consider your physical health. They don't consider that you may be going through a health crisis. They don't consider that you may be going through a divorce. They don't consider that you have hit rock bottom. No, they don't consider that. They just want you to perform. But see, when you move away and you have the opportunity to form your own relationships, these people really see you. They see you, okay? Sixth thing, you learn that your worth is not what you produce. See, parentified daughters are often high-achieving women. They have successful careers, they have advanced degrees, and even if that's not you, you are still successful. You may have a trade, you're going after it. You are really building a life, but let me say this, you also feel depleted and burned out. Why? Because you are just giving. As soon as it's in your hand, you're giving it to someone else. You may not even feel worthy about having the things that you have. You feel bad for having things because you were always made to give it away. You weren't able to enjoy it long. So it was your birthday. You may have gotten a gift, but before you knew it, you had to give it to a sibling. Or you were made to share. Maybe it's your birthday, your grandmother, grandfather, another family member gives you money, and you were made to give that money to your mother so that she could pay a bill, or your father so they could pay a bill, or your siblings may have needed something, so you weren't ever able to enjoy what was given to you. So now, right, you get the opportunity to learn that your worth is not in what you produce, but it's in who you are. And underneath, you may have had this belief, right, that if I'm not useful, that I'm not valuable. A lot of this online relationship content bothers me because it's very transactional. And see, you have to be careful not to fall into a transactional relationship. But that's what you're used to. You're used to everything being transactional. If you cook, if you clean, if you take care of your siblings, if they do everything right, then you don't get in trouble. Then you get praised. If you do good in school, then you get praised. Nobody praised you just for being you. Nobody ever said, girl, you are beautiful, you're smart, you're talented, you're all that in a bag of chips. No one ever told you I loved you just because. Everything had to do with you giving something first. Or I don't even want to say giving, because giving implies that you did it because you wanted to. Everything was robbed from you. It was taken from you. It was stolen from you. Your childhood was stolen from you. But now you get to learn, right, that you don't have to give labor in order to be loved, that your worth is not in what you produce, right? You don't deserve love because you're helpful. You don't deserve rest because you've earned it. Like I mentioned before, you are exhausted. You go to school, you take care of your siblings. You were the latchkey kid. You had to cook dinner. And then the kitchen is dirty. You go to sleep because you are exhausted. You're a growing young girl as well. You understand? But then your parent comes and wakes you up. But meanwhile, your parent doesn't treat your other siblings like that. There were different rules for you growing up. And it's very painful. And let's be honest, your siblings may not even be as successful as you are. You had to be successful. You didn't have I wish you might come home with a low grade. But for some of you, it could be the opposite. You're like, Cynthia, they didn't expect anything out of me. They only expected me to be there to take care of my family. They didn't expect anything from me, Cynthia. I had to join the military, or I had to go to school in order to get away. Or maybe it's, Cynthia, I went to community college and I got a trade. I became an esthetician, or I became a hairdresser. And once I really made some good money with my skills, then I moved away, Cynthia. But even then, in relationships, I keep feeling like I have to give in order to receive love. No, it's not like that. It shouldn't be that way. And the final thing, right, as why I feel like every eldest daughter or parentified daughter should move away is you break the cycle before creating your own family. I believe that this is so important, that you get the opportunity. See, many of us, and I even think about when I had my son will be 11 this year. And I think about if what really caused me to do my healing work, even though I was a therapist, not a therapist, I was a social worker, right? But I wasn't doing therapy yet. What really caused me to get serious and go to therapy is that I was becoming a mother. I had done therapy before, but when I got pregnant, I said I have to go to therapy because I didn't know whether I was having, you don't find out. Well, maybe it's different now. I don't know. But at that time, you don't find out the gender. I didn't find out his gender really until he was 20 weeks. I didn't do the blood test to find out because I didn't do that. So I didn't know what gender it was, but I told myself, if I'm having a daughter, I have to ensure that I am a different mother and that I'm in a healthy place. See, when the eldest daughter moves away before she has children or before she gets married, you have the opportunity to heal and break the cycle before you have your own family. If you never heal from parentification, you'll often recreate it. And what I didn't want to do is burden my child with having to be a parent. See, parentification happens even before your parents have your siblings. You are raised as a parent. There are different expectations of you, right? So I didn't want to recreate this for my child. I didn't want them to have to be the one giving and sacrificing their childhood. I had already sacrificed mine. I wanted them to have the opportunity to be a child. And I remember even being diagnosed, when I got diagnosed with breast cancer, my father was like, well, make sure your son helps you. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I will go through breast cancer and he will still be a child. See, by the time I was my son's age, at 10 years old, I was cooking and cleaning. I had my first sibling. I was changing diapers, responsible for bottles, folding laundry. I had to do the laundry for the whole family. We lived on the 4th floor, right? We were military quarters. We lived on the 4th floor. The laundry room was down. It was either the 4th or 3rd floor. I'm trying to think. 3rd floor. We lived on the 3rd floor. I'm like, brother, man, don't know what number to put up. We lived on the 3rd floor. And so I remember having to take the laundry basket all the way downstairs as a 10-year-old. Hear me, as a 10-year-old, all the way downstairs, wash, dry the laundry, bring it all the way up and fold it for 2 adults, myself, and for my sibling. That is too much on a 10-year-old going on 11. 11, 12 shouldn't be responsible. Now, it would be one thing if I was responsible for my laundry. But imagine, my father used to wear BDUs because he was in the Army. So my mother's clothes, my clothes, my brother's clothes, and my father's clothes. And my father being in the military, he had PT. So his PT uniforms and his BDUs and the clothes he wore on the weekend. You see what I'm saying? That is a lot. But it gives you the opportunity to break the cycle. Many of you guys are matriarchs. Let me tell you something. I'm trying to tell you something. We talk about being trailblazers. We talk about breaking generational curses and generational patterns. From you as the matriarch will come a new bloodline. Things will be different when you have your children because you have done the work. You have done the healing work before you create a family. But let me give you this caution. Okay? I don't want you to just move. I want you to be intentional about healing. Because what some eldest daughters, parentified daughters do, they move from one city to another, but the same behavior happens. You engage in the same patterns. That means your family could call you. You drive 3 hours to where they are to fix it. No. When you move, you have to make a very clear decision that you are not going to go back. And what I mean by that is you're not going to go back to solve their problems. You're not going to send money back to solve their problems. You know that you have a parent that's irresponsible with money. They have to figure it out. They are an adult. You are an adult. This also, don't get in a romantic relationship and then engage in codependent behavior. And if you need help with that, schedule a coaching call. Because what happens for the parentified eldest daughter who moves away is sometimes she recreates the same environment, the same chaotic and dysfunctional environment, because that's what her nervous system is used to. So it's very important that when you move away, you put your head down and you focus on healing. You focus on doing the work so that you can grieve that childhood, so that you can regulate your nervous system, so that you can create boundaries and you don't override them. Many of us were taught that blood was thicker than water, but the saying is blood of the covenant is thicker than water of the womb. So who you decide to be in relationship with, that relationship is more important. See, we were taught to put family above everything else, but the thing was, we were taught that they don't live by that. So you live by that. You are doing everything for your siblings, everything for your parents, everything for your grandmother, everything. You're doing everything for everybody. But when it comes to you, who can you depend on? Who can I run to? You can't run to nobody. You were taught that nobody was going to come help you. Nobody's going to come save you. So it's so important that even when you move away, don't find another partner to rescue. Don't get in a relationship with a man that's emotionally unintelligent, emotionally unavailable. Don't have friends that are jealous of you, that are taking from you. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. And this is why therapy is important, right? Because therapy and coaching, it teaches you, right, to stop confusing love with self-sacrifice. Many of us were raised to abandon ourselves. So that's why when people say relationships are hard, you get in a relationship. But the thing is that you're used to this. You're used to self-abandoning. You're used to self-sacrificing. No more. No more. No more. I want you to move away, do your healing work, or maybe you've already moved away, but it's time to do your healing work. This video is calling you out. Should I go to therapy? I don't want to go to therapy. I don't want to talk about it in my bed. No, you need to go. You need to go, because from 0 to 18, you live with your family. You may now be 37 or 25 and you're in a relationship with a man, and it is triggering you, and you don't even realize that you are about to start the cycle all over again by being in an unhealthy relationship. Or some of you have friends. How many of us have them, right? That you can't depend on, that you can't count on. But they call you when they need something. They call you to come and celebrate their birthday. Meanwhile, it's your birthday and they're busy. They're unavailable. They call you to go on the trip. They call you to go out to lunch because they know you're kind and you'll treat them. Meanwhile, they don't treat you. No, enough is enough. I want you to know that if you are the eldest daughter, that moving away is not about abandoning your family, but it's about getting you. It's about getting you. It's about saving you. It's about discovering yourself, exploring what you need, want, and desire. Many women don't know what they need in relationships or what they want in relationships because you were just taught to push your needs down and put someone else's needs above yourself. And a lot of this relationship rhetoric online, it perpetuates that narrative, especially towards women. And if you've grown up as the parentified daughter, the eldest daughter, if you've grown up, especially if you experienced trauma in your childhood, a lot of the online dating advice, it don't relate to you. It's not going to work for you. Because you need someone in your life specifically who's going to care for you. You need to know that you are loved for who you are, not for the labor that you produce. On period. All right? I want to hear from you down below. I want to talk to you about this. I'm going to put the link down below as it relates to coaching. Some of you need to schedule a coaching call. If you are in the Healed Squad, which is the membership, we have our first office hours on August the 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're like, Cynthia, what is that? I want to be a part of the Heal Squad. The Heal Squad is a membership, and I'm doing office hours where you can come and get group coaching from me. Okay. Right now, I think the membership is $5.99. So it's a steal. So the link is in the membership. So you just join the membership and then you can sign up for office hours, which will be this Friday, August the 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. This is Heal the New Sexy. My name is Cynthia.